Hi everyone, welcome back to the Purple Pumpkin. I'm Laura, and today we're going to have a look back at 2023 at some of the plants that I grew from seed. So I figured since everyone and their mother is buying seeds right now and starting seeds, that I would give you guys an idea of how those seeds will grow into plants. So most of these will be from Baker Creek seeds, but I did make a notation if they're from somewhere else. So let's have a look. I tried to put them in order of kind of like how they bloom. So spring to fall bloomers. So let's just get into it. So first up we have the Bowles Black Viola. And these were definitely a winner for me last year. They're super cute. They have like a very, very dark purple, almost black bloom with a little bit of yellow in the center. They were fairly easy to grow. And I did like them so much that I will be growing them again this year. And then next up is the Bunny Ears Viola. I wish I had more footage of this one, but they just didn't grow as well for me, so I didn't get as many plants out of them. But what I did get is adorable. As you can see, they have a very unique bloom style with the top of the bloom sort of resembling bunny ears, hence the name. This container is obviously way overplanted, which may be why I didn't get as many blooms as I wanted out of this one. But I would recommend these for sure. And then next is going to be the Blue Perfection Viola. These were also adorable. How many times are we going to use that word? I absolutely am in love with the color of these. They are like a periwinkle, which is just my favorite color. I was able to save some seed from these, so I will be growing them again this year. And these are definitely a recommend for me. These are really, really cute. Now, this next one is the Nami Stock. And I just think that stock is not a good plant for me to grow. I think people use it for cut flowers. It blooms one bloom per stalk. And you can get a single bloom or a double bloom. The singles, for me, they just were not doing it for me. It's not worth it to grow this plant for that bloom. The doubles, I did think were really pretty. But this is another plant that like flops over a lot. I know that's, not their fault. I should support my plants. But I just thought this one looked kind of ratty as it was growing. Looks kind of like a weed until it blooms. So just not my favorite plant. But then on to one that pretty much was one of my favorite plants last year. And that was Alyssum. I grew quite a bit of Alyssum from seed last year. And it was super easy to grow. I love how Alyssum can take really cool temperatures, so I was able to set them out super early. They bloomed a lot in the spring. I cut them back as we got into summer, and I got a second flush for them. And they even lasted well into several frosts for me. I actually made a video about that. So Alyssum is a definite winner, and this year I plan on growing like a ton more. I'm so excited to add this into like pretty much everywhere around the garden. Okay, and this next one is Leprechaun Gold Columbine. These I didn't get blooms from last year because I did start them from seed last year. So they only grew foliage last year. I have my fingers crossed that they will bloom for me this year, but they are gorgeous. You can see the marbling of the leaves is like a gold and green. They are absolutely beautiful, and that's just the foliage. Columbines are a little bit difficult to grow from seed as far as germination. I believe I tried to grow, I think it was like 24, and I only germinated 6 of these. So they are like gold. But I cannot wait to see them bloom. I will keep you guys updated on that for sure. And on to the sweet peas. So I'm going to talk about 2 different peas here. The first one is called the Flora Norton sweet pea. And this is one that is for flowers, not for eating. But I actually preferred the other one that I grew, which was for eating. So this Flora Norton was supposed to have purple flowers, very pretty, and they did grow well for me. They germinated well and everything, but they just didn't put on as much of a show as I wanted them to. The flowers just were not as prolific as I was hoping. Whereas on the other hand, these sugar magnolia tendril peas, these are an edible pea that I was growing for the peas, not for the flowers. I ended up loving these ones. This plant has gorgeous variegation on the leaves. The flowers are like different shades of purple. It's got like 3 different shades of purple in the bloom. These are so pretty. And then the pods that they put on are purple as well. So these I would choose over the other ones, even just to grow for the flowers. And then the bonus is that they turn into edible peas. Next up, we'll talk about a couple of petunias that I grew from seed. The first is Greetings from Geranium Petunia. I'm going to be glad I don't have to say that anymore because I feel like I sound silly. But I won't be growing this one again. So I'm all set with this one. It's beautiful. I really loved the double bloom on this one more than I liked the single bloom. You can see them both here. But these just didn't do it for me. I don't like the color. They're very much a bright magenta fuchsia kind of color. I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm moving on from those. We have the balcony petunias. These are a definite winner in my book. These were really easy to grow from seed. They both were easy to grow from seed. I did not realize how easy petunias are to grow from seed. And if you haven't done it, you should. They really do not need much help along the way at all. But these balcony petunias, I was in love with this year. They put on all different color blooms. You can see there's a striped bloom, there's purples, there's pinks, there's whites, and the plants grew really, really big. I actually think that these give Supertunias a run for their money. And they obviously are a minuscule fraction of the cost. So I would highly, highly recommend these balcony petunias. Okay, and then next up is the Rocket Larkspur. This was a beautiful plant. I've never grown larkspur before, but I never will not grow it now. It is gorgeous. It's a beautiful cottage garden style plant. It's tall, but not too tall, and it comes in a variety of shades. They bloomed for me white all the way up to like a dark purple, and they are gorgeous. You can start these actually in the fall in the garden. You can fall sow them, or you can start them from seed. It's recommended that you start them direct sown because they have a little bit deeper of a taproot. I did not do that. I started them in trays and they grew just fine for me, but I would definitely recommend these. And then next up, we have a couple of Dianthus. The first one is Spooky Mix Dianthus, and I had to have these because of the name and because they are such a unique little flower. So these have like a fringed edge, and it's like a star-shaped flower. The mix ended up blooming darker pinks and then all the way through to white. They were able to handle a lot of cold temperatures. Actually, some of these are still green right now in the garden, and it's January. They don't have blooms, but they're still green. So these are definitely a recommend. And then the next one, Hollandia Purple Crown Dianthus. These were gorgeous as well. And I think if they were a little bit different color, I would definitely grow them again. They were easy to grow, and I love the bloom structure on these. They're almost like a little hydrangea. They're so cute, but the color themselves just not going to be for me anymore. It's more of a magenta pink. Some of them did come out with like more of a white head with little magenta speckles in it, but most of them came out the opposite, so magenta with like a little white in it. So if you like those colors, definitely I would recommend this plant. It was easy to grow and another one that can handle really cold temperatures. On to Snapdragons. This is the Cherry Twist Snapdragon, and this is another one that I did not support properly, so it ended up flopping over. But these are gorgeous. I mean, look at this. Here's one that's standing up, but they are, I love the bloom structure on these. These are kind of mixed in with some irises here. It almost looks like the irises are blooming, but these are another one that I would definitely recommend. I am going to be growing Snapdragons again this year. I'm just going to grow them in a different color. Highly recommend growing Snapdragons from seed. All right, and then Bachelors Buttons. Again, was my first year growing Bachelors Buttons from seed, and I really liked it. They bloom their heads off. This one here is actually one plant that I ended up laying down on its side, and then all these flowers shot up from the side. And I mean, look at how many flowers are on these things. They do need to be deadheaded if you want them to continue blooming. And because they bloom like crazy, that's kind of a big job. So just a little heads up there. But I love the range of colors on these, and I would definitely recommend growing them from seed. All right, and then if you're familiar with my videos, you probably heard me talk about this one a billion times, and that is Ageratum. This is one of my favorite annuals to grow from seed because it is so easy to grow. And I love the little blooms. They're like little pom-poms. They're super cute. And this is just a plant that I remember from my childhood when my mom used to take me to Frank's Garden Center in Vernon. And she always got these little purple pom-pom plants when they were super small. And so when I started growing them and they grew into these big plants, I was kind of surprised at how big they are. I love Ageratum. Highly recommend growing it from seed. It's super easy. Just be careful because it can be kind of aggressive in some areas. Okay, and then spotted Bee Balm. This plant is amazing. This is an incredible pollinator magnet. Usually when this one is coming close to blooming or blooming, it is just absolutely swarmed with all different kinds of bees I've never even seen before until I grew this plant. It has a super unique bloom structure. It's not like any other bee balms that you see. There's almost, you can't even tell where the flower part is because it's like the whole top of the plant. It's almost like a layered situation. It kind of looks like a UFO once the seed pods come on. This is a great plant. It smells really good. So highly, highly recommend. Next up is the Colorado Mix Yarrow. And I started these from seed actually a couple years ago. And they grew so well for me that I just started more the next year. So these are another one that are really easy to grow from seed. And I love the ferny texture of the foliage. I did put these in with some larkspur. I kind of mixed them together because their foliage is similar. And that ended up looking really pretty. These bloom all different colors. So anywhere from like a white all the way through to like a fuchsia with some pastels mixed in there. You can get yellow. They're just really great. I love these plants. Moving on to Agastache, or anise hyssop, some people call it. Well, it's called that. And I grew two different kinds from Baker Creek. I grew the raspberry daiquiri and the lavender martini. And I prefer the lavender martini just as far as the color of the blooms. It's like a pastel purple with a little bit of a peach to it. And then the raspberry daiquiri has a pinker tone to it. So these are both recommendations from me. I love Agastache because it smells amazing. And it is another one that is a pollinator magnet. The hummingbirds actually really like this one. It's got that totally tubular shape of bloom that they like to stick their little faces in. So highly recommend growing Agastache from seed. On to Gomphrena here. This was one I was really excited to try to grow from seed. I've heard other people talk about it. I know Stephanie from Hooked and Rooted grows this every year from seed, and she has great luck with it. I did not have great luck. I actually ended up buying these a bunch of times because the first set and the second set just did not germinate for me. Finally, I ended up buying the mix one, and that one ended up germinating, but it took a while. And then they didn't bloom for me until almost September. So for an annual, I just didn't think that they were really worth it because I want my annuals to be blooming like for the whole summer. All right, and then next up is the Sirius Blue Salvia, and this one might be my number one grown from seed plant of last year. These were a big surprise to me. They grew super fast once the heat came on, and then once they bloomed, they just held their blooms for like 2 months. I mean, these held their blooms all the way through the first and second frost. The color of the blooms is gorgeous. It's like a deep, deep periwinkle. Absolutely stunning. I got so many people that walked by the house and commented on these plants in particular. They were just absolutely gorgeous. And I am going to grow them again and probably will grow them every year. Sirius Blue Salvia, definitely recommend this one. And that's it for what I grew last year from seed. I am going to be doing a seed haul soon, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you all for joining me in this one. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are new here. We are just getting into seed starting season, so things are about to get hectic and crazy, and I would love to have you join us. So thanks for hanging out with me for this one, and I will see you next time. Bye!